A lot of people in fear, just confusion. My whole family was scared, you know.
Annie Thomas's abuser left prison almost 17 years early. The early release, according to the mother of two, was described to her as a 1 in a million mistake. But our KCRG TV9 I-9 investigative team found many prisoners, including those considered high risk, were released early.
Thomas's story is part of an investigative series we're starting tonight called Released Too Soon. And KCRG TV9's Ethan Stein is in the studio right now to explain how inmates are being released too early.
Hey, Jim. Well, it starts at the Iowa Department of Corrections. They send a recommendation to the Iowa Board of Parole. Then a few members on the board vote if an inmate should be allowed out of prison. Now, inmates with mandatory minimums, they are not eligible to go through this process. But we found one case state officials at the end of the line, those overseeing those on parole, call a big mistake.
You do the best you can, I guess.
For this mother of two, the memories are difficult.
You cry a lot.
Over her past life with Mario Goodson.
I had some on my face, my neck, and my hand.
A police report says Goodson punched Thomas until her nose bled, pushed her head into her mirror, breaking it, and coerced her into sex. He was convicted and sentenced to 25 years. His previous sex crimes meant he was required to serve at least 21 years. But after just 2 years, records show the Department of Corrections recommended Goodson for work release. The Iowa Board of Parole approved it, letting him leave prison.
I think I spent the whole night crying because I thought he was really getting out, and I didn't know how that was possible.
Thomas only learned about his release from her daughter, who got a notice from a crime victim website and called her mom. State law requires victims get a notice and a chance to testify at parole hearings, but Thomas was never notified. Emails we received show she was not put into a database used to notify victims. 2 days later, Goodson was back in prison with the director of another state agency, sharing it as another example of how effed up the system is becoming.
Surprised and concerned.
The prosecutor, Black Hawk County Attorney Brian Williams, did not know Goodson was set to get out. He says Goodson was not eligible, and his record makes the decision more confusing.
Very surprised, even without the mandatory minimum.
Why?
Because sexual abuse in and of itself is obviously concerning, regardless of someone's criminal history. But here we're dealing with somebody who had a prior, which is the basis for the 85% to begin with, is because there was a prior sexual abuse. Those are some of the most dangerous people in any community.
Court record shows Goodson has been convicted of around 30 crimes, including violation of probation. Iowa Code says that behavior, along with his past criminal history, should factor into parole board decisions. State law also asks the parole board to consider a person's behavior when in prison and participation in institutional programs. Our I-9 team made public records requests related to Goodson and found he was disciplined for multiple major violations in prison, like participating in a fight with around 7 inmates. And emails I-9 received show he did not complete sexual abuse treatment. Another email from the Iowa Department of Corrections called Goodson a moderate to high risk, thus the work release recommendation. The Department of Corrections and the Iowa Parole Board refused to speak with TV9 about this case on the phone or on camera. A spokesperson for the Board of Parole says it keeps no physical case files. In a statement, the Board of Parole says Goodson was released due to a discrepancy in his time calculation and quickly taken back into DOC custody. The Department of Corrections also says the discrepancy was due to a unique appeal process, and an audit to see if other issues existed confirmed no further issues persisted. Emails I-9 received shows concerns about Goodson's release went unanswered, with one staffer saying, "What do I do with him since we aren't getting an answer?"
You can't, how's that possible?
For Annie Thomas, her fear over those 2 days are etched into her memory. Another painful memory from another life she hopes nobody else has to experience.
I don't want to sit here and make it sound like my case is so bad. I am doing this for anybody else this could impact and affect, because this can't happen. It can't keep happening.
Tomorrow, we're going to show you how 2 former Iowa Board of Parole members argue more illegal parole decisions happen and how those actions could affect the amount of tax dollars used throughout the state. In studio, Ethan Stein, KCRG TV 9 News.
All right, thank you, Ethan. And if you have a concern our I-9 team should know, you can call the I-9 tip line. The number is 319-399-5928, or you can simply email us, newsroom@kcrg.com.